Another tournament and even more drama on NA. We now have Khanada, Bugha, and Threat splitting up as a trio. I want to talk about who they're playing with and who is now dropping Seaport City. We had Clix setting a world record in today's finals, and I want to talk about what's going on with the new update. What are the new guns? What is in competitive, and which one should you be using? We also have potential of a new trio on the horizon for Mr. Savage. So there's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. All right, before the insane performance from Clix's world record tournament, let's talk about the update. This actually put a fair bit of stuff into competitive. One change that went into competitive that I'm very happy to announce did not stick was the sticky launcher. The sticky launcher somehow found its way into tournaments. It was a bug that you could tell it was a bug. It was only dropping out of the highest bags. I reached out to Asarian. They told me that they switched out the highest bags in casual and competitive and forgot to split them. Unfortunately, the EU Eval had to play with the sticky launcher and then it got vaulted. So thankfully, that is not in competitive. But there are a few changes that are. So firstly, we have the new pump and dump shotgun SMG gun thing. Didn't see a lot of pros using it today. Flixie was probably the most noticeable player I saw running it every single game. I actually even got Veno to jump into a call to try to explain to me why they were running it, how they felt it went. He said, look, it's probably not the best. There is some unique plays that you can make with it. Resubs made some cool content and how you can like pump, pre-fire a wall, jump in, SMG spray. One of the biggest complaints a lot of people have is actually easily fixed in the settings. A lot of people saying it feels awkward because they go to edit and then pump, but it's the wrong button. They're used to editing and then instantly pressing left click. You can actually go to your settings and change this because right now the pump is on right click and the SMG is on left. If you go into your settings, it's actually the fourth tab in your settings. You go down to combat, there's an option to switch the input. You turn that from on to off, and then you are now having left click as the pump. This could help you guys who are trying to use it, but overall, not a lot of pros using it. Its biggest strength is actually the structure damage. It does insane structure damage if you're holding down the SMG and shotgun consistently, especially on high ground. I saw Predage, the Italian pro, using it for this purpose. I just don't see it being that good of an item. We have really good assault rifles, suppressed pistols. We have really good follow-up weapons to what is already a great pump, the Sentinel pump shotgun. So I just don't really see a world where you run this item unless you maybe want to run like one gun, which is the the pump and dump, and then triple meds and mobility, but you lose out on so much fighting potential to gain not really that much because again the meds are so strong. You can hold a whole chug jug or 6 splashes. You don't really need triple meds. So I think it's a cool weapon that's a little bit unique, and I think in different metas it might fit in a little bit better. There'll probably be some pro who comes up with some crazy strategy that's super broken. I'm completely wrong, but right now I just watched 12 hours of competitive Fortnite, the Eval Cup on both EU and NA, and almost no one was consistently running it, and those who were, I wasn't really seeing them do anything they couldn't have just done with a regular pump and assault rifle. Speaking of pumps, we have the Outlaw shotgun, which is kind of like a play it trying to replace the pump or a different weapon. It's a 2-shot shotgun, but instead of being the only shotgun, it's the opposite. Instead of being long range tight bullet spread, it's close range, very big bullet spread. You guys who have been watching my content for a while know I'm a sucker for just an absolute barrel stuff up and close shotgun. The double barrel and especially the Dragon's Breath are two weapons I absolutely love. I know I'm a boomer. It's a very strange opinion that I have. I love them. I think they're cool. They're unique. They're really fun. So I was super excited to see this gun, but it's not that great. I'm gonna be honest. The reload time on it is really fast. The 2 shots isn't a huge issue, but it just doesn't put down enough damage consistently. And if you verse any good opponent with it, they just play range, they play a box or 2 back, and you just can't do anything against the pump that basically hits just as hard point blank anyway. Again, because follow-up weapons are so good this season, you're better off just hitting a big max damage pump shot or even like a half damage pump shot and then swapping to an AR or pistol or SMG and finish them off rather than trying to shoot this shotgun twice that doesn't even hit that hard, even if you hit max damage with massive bullet spread. So unfortunately, it's not really going to change too much of the meta either. I feel like in another meta, it could be quite effective. But right now, I mean, if you pick it up off spawn, it's not absolutely terrible. It's not the worst item. I'd still prefer it over the auto shotgun, but right now, the ranking for shotguns is very much still Sentinel pump is by far the best. I think maybe you could argue the pump and dump is second depending on how you use it, but that's a big maybe. Then I'd say the Outlaw shotgun and then the auto shotgun. So it hasn't really changed that much. One item that definitely would have changed the competitive meta but was not added into competitive is the rocket drill. It is pretty much just the rocket ram. It does actually look slightly worse than the rocket ram because you kind of get stuck up against walls because you're farming the wall rather than like breaking straight through it like the rocket ram, which I think actually makes it slightly worse. If it was in competitive, getting stuck on walls so you can get pre-fired or beamed across the map would have nerfed it a little bit, but overall it would have been a new type of mobility which a lot of people are begging for, especially in solos. But for whatever reason, Fortnite decided to not put it in competitive. It is only going to be in pubs and ranks. Now, to make up for that though, one thing that is also going to rank that a lot of people have been asking for a very long time is Siphon. Siphon is now in ranked. A lot of people are noticing that this seems to be a response to the fact that the ranked numbers are dropping right now, which I think actually goes very hand in hand with the sticky grenade launcher and just some of the goofy items in general. We've had this conversation on this stream a million times. Why the loot pool is not just tournament loot pool for the game mode that's meant to be competitive, so people have a place to go and sweat and try hard, and then they can just go into pubs for all the goofy fun stuff. I don't know why Fortnite wants ranked to be this weird hybrid where there's some of the goofy items like the sticky grenade launcher that are just really not fun to verse, but then it's not fully like pubs. It creates a weird middle ground where I do truly think rank numbers would increase if it was the competitive tournament loot pool, and that is it. But Fortnite has the data, they have the stats. There's a lot of people out there who grind ranked who have no desire to play tournaments, who find tournaments way too sweaty, and they just like the idea of playing with the fun items but having something else on the line. I get that, but I think the ranked player count dropping, I don't think Siphon is going to help with it that much when there is still items like the sticky grenade launcher that players are just trying to avoid and don't want to touch if they can avoid it. We have a couple things that almost definitely, in my opinion, should stay in pubs or ranked but have somehow made their way into competitive. First off, we have the gold llama. There are now gold llamas around the map. They're not super crazy if you find them. They give you max material, they give you meds, but they also give you an insane amount of gold and dill bits. Now, this isn't a huge issue. It's basically like finding a vault, but anyone can find out in the open. That's not so bad, but the improved reboot scares me a lot. This is coming out next week, apparently. The improved reboot is you can spend 1,000 gold and reboot both of your teammates, even without their reboot cards, and they're going to come back with shield and an assault rifle. It's just like we want Pete to win FNCS. Like, we're just giving Pete the FNCS. Not only that, they've added the mythic pump shotgun to the train. So now Venno and Pete's team both get a mythic gold pump every single game. Like, I know I'm singling out Pete here. This is basically beneficial for any team that drops a Vault POI and doesn't get to spend all their gold. Most of the teams around Magic Monsters spend all the gold on meds. Some of them have a little bit left over, but if you're a team that drops a drop consistently and you get a bunch of gold and you want value out of that gold, this buying reboots is going to be so unbelievably strong. And again, the reason why I point out Pete is because one of the main ways to stop these big teams who are W King like crazy is occasionally actually dying. They actually go down and they can't win every single game. But if you can just buy reboots back with gold, they reboot back in with shield and an assault rifle, and they still have their gold, so they can go to the black market and buy all these crazy weapons. It just feels like even dying in Fortnite right now doesn't matter as long as you're rich enough. Outside of that, I think that covers the update pretty well. We had some new skins, cosmetics. There is a new area on the map. It's like kind of like a mini PY. There's now a server farm over near the new area of the map that has a bit of loot in it, has some metal, has some material. Not changing up too much, but I believe that pretty much covers most of the update. Overall, pretty W update. I like it. It's added enough cool stuff to kind of add some intrigue and some excitement to the season, but not completely changed and shifted the meta. I think some people were hoping for a complete change in the meta, especially by adding mobility. I'm getting more and more okay with just the baseball bat gold splash running mobility loadout, at least in trios. I think solos definitely need something because the solo meta right now is extremely frustrating, but I'm not totally against the trio meta. I am actually enjoying it. I do like this update, and I think overall we're cooking with this season right now. All right, let's talk about the world record performance from Clix in the Eval Cup today. When I talk about EU, I'm going to talk about some of the new trios who struggled and why I think this is going to be really exciting for Mr. Savage, but we'll kick off with NA because we have Clix, Batman, Bugha, and Eomzo winning 3 of 4 matches, getting an 11 kill win, 5 kill win, 7 kill win, and then a 4 kill 9th. Absolutely popping off. Clix's playstyle is so suited to these Victory Cup games. I will say we're getting a lot of love for Clix's team from the pros on EU. We've now had Queasy mention that he thinks Clix's trio is the most synergized trio he has ever seen, playing so well together, playing off each other, fighting extremely well. The way they play endgames is so dialed in. We now even have Swizzy, again, EU FNCS champion, just won the Div 1 Cup final, saying that he thinks Clix's team is going to win NA FNCS. So when people keep calling me out, like, Aussie, you talking about Clix winning FNCS, he's never going to win it. It's just clickbait. Some of the best players in the world are recognizing how well Clix is playing right now. Now, we had Seek, Taki, and Ishu win the 4th game. They got a 10 Elim win. They also got a 5 Elim 3rd and an 8 Elim 8th. I think this team is being very slept on, especially Seek in solos. Now, where is Cold Peter Bottom Poyo? Whenever we talk about NA, we talk about who's doing well. Got to talk about Cold Poyo and Peterbot. Now, they got a 10 Elim 4th, 14 Elim 3rd, 16 Elim 2nd, and in their last game, they took a fight against Minished's team. They unfortunately went down the mid game in 17th, but their other 3 games were phenomenal. So again, it's that story of when elims are worth so much, they were 3 in Div 1 finals and they were 4 in grands. That is where Clix's placement heavy win format just doesn't seem to hold up against Peterbot's absolute just raw W keying power. So a lot of people are actually saying the elim points should be worth less because Clix's playstyle should be rewarded more. Again, that debate always rages on. I understand why in grands elims are worth so much, because getting elims in grand finals is meant to be extremely hard. When you have the skill discrepancy of Peterbot compared to like the 5th or 33rd best team's fighting ability, especially in trios, I think elims should maybe be worth a little bit less in trios than what they were in duos. It is easier for a trio to run Rampage and get a bunch of kills, but overall, it is super exciting seeing the consistent placement go up against elims, but Pete's team is also getting insane placements. In a regular format, they got a 4th, 3rd, and 2nd. Even without crazy elims, that's still unbelievable. So it's really fun to see these two Titan teams go at it with very different playstyles. Cold, Peterbot, and Poyo do like to run the low and mid ground a fair bit. It's worth mentioning Clix actually got one of those wins off an early high ground take. So Clix's team flexing their ability to take high ground. Iomzo, I think, is a phenomenal IGL right now. He is very dialed in. His mechanics have been insane. He's been dominating in solos. All 3 of them have, which is a great sign of how much they're grinding right now. And Clix wasn't even on his regular setup. He was actually playing at Cypher PK's setup because apparently he went to South by Southwest to do something for JBL. So he was doing some sponsored stuff, jumped on the PC. It was crashing a whole bunch for streams. He actually crashed twice in opens, and Batman, Bugha, Higgs, and Iomzo ended up clutching so many points. They still made finals and then almost had the perfect finals with 4 wins. There are some other teams on NA I want to talk about before we switch over to EU. We had Muzz, Curly, and Rise get 2 second places, almost getting 2 wins. They did really, really well. Again, Clix's X trio still holding up phenomenally. We had Ages, Ritual, and Acorn get a 2nd and a 3rd, while still contested by Cooper's team at Mars Meadows, and also having Yassir's team drop there as well. So Ages, Ritual, and Acorn almost got 2 wins, getting a 2nd and 3rd, while triple conned by one team that is a tier 1 team. They're absolutely popping off. This team is one to look out for. If they can somehow get Mars Meadows uncontested, if Cooper's team leaves or something changes, they really can give Pete a run for their money. They're playing phenomenal. Whatever doubts people had about Ritual and Acorn's ability to fight, Ritual not being a fragger, they have been clearly grinding extremely hard, and the way they've been playing, the strategy they've been cooking up, every game's different. Half the games they had to sit in like a 10-minute box fight against Vidil's team to get into the black market, and they still managed to do this well. Like, it's not like the teams are just like fighting and then splitting the loot and rotating out. Like, they're trying to grief each other throughout the rest of the game, and they're still playing this well. It is genuinely very impressive. Now, we had Vidil, Cooper, and Sphinx also get a 7th and a 4th place out of this as well. Khanada, Bugha, Threats had a pretty rough tournament, 32nd, 10th, 10th, and 10th. I know if you've been watching any of Khanada's content, you've seen his thoughts on how his team's doing right now, saying they're not playing well, they have to start voting, they have to lock in, figure it out. A lot of people are concerned for what this means for Bugha's trio. Are they going to split? Are they going to stick together? We'll have to see. We had Reet announcing his potential new trio. It's not 100%, but Reet really wants to play with Bryce. So him, Bryce, and Virgo are now trioing together. They did really well in opens. Unfortunately, in finals, they were contested at Kappa Kappa Factory by Tyler's team, and they went down 3 out of the 4 games on spawn, so they have to fix that up a little bit. But overall, they were looking quite solid. Hello, this is Sleepy Antics. I was just heading to bed after filming the video, and we now have even more drama on NA because apparently I'm not allowed to go to sleep. So we have Cooper confirming that he is no longer dropping Mars Meadows. He is leaving Acorn uncontested, which is very, very big for this season going forward. We get to finally see Peterbot versus Acorn uncontested. This is incredibly exciting, but where is he dropping, you might ask? He is now going Seaport City. And yes, you're probably thinking, Aussie, why would Cooper stop contesting Acorn just to go contest Bugha? That's not going to be any better. Why would he give up Mars Meadows for Seaport? It is because Bugha is no longer going Seaport, or at least we think, because Bugha no longer has a trio. Khanada has left Bugha and Threats. He is now going to be playing this week with a new trio as an IGL. We don't know who it is. He's kind of keeping a secret right now. He said he's not going to be streaming this week, and for what's going on with Bugha and Threats, we don't know. So I'm guessing maybe with Khanada kind of comes to mind. Sorry, with Reet comes to mind. I'm not entirely sure here. I have no idea. I'm not going to try and figure it out because I am extremely tired, but I wanted to make sure I put this in the video because obviously we're all going to be talking about it. So Acorn now uncontested at Mars Meadows. Cooper, Vidil, and Sphinx are now going to be dropping Seaport City. Bugha and Threats are looking for trios, and Khanada now has a brand new trio. Now, what this means for the Bitcoin that was held in collateral, if you guys don't know that, apparently Bugha gave Khanada a Bitcoin to promise that he would be grinding this season. He won't snake him. I guess now because it was Khanada's decision to leave, There's no Bitcoin changing hands. I've heard rumors apparently the whole Bitcoin thing was a meme, even though Khanada said it on his stream super seriously. I don't even know what's going on anymore, man. It's NA. I'll probably be able to see what trio they play with tomorrow for opens of Div 1, and I'll probably make another video tomorrow night telling you what's going on. So yeah, back to the regular video. Now, let's talk about EU, and I feel like every time I talk about EU and then talking about how it affects Mr. Savage's trio, it's like the LeBron legacy meme, but there were some big new trios who didn't do that well, which could potentially shake up into some team options for Savage because we didn't get to see Savage play today. Savage currently had to miss the Eval Cup. He's also going to miss the Div 1 Cups this week. He's currently traveling to get a surgery. He's getting a hernia removed. So again, we're hoping Savage recovers well. The surgery is all no dramas. It does sound like it's pretty routine based on the way he's been talking about it. So no super dramas there, but it means he wasn't playing. So we have to look at some of these other trios and then maybe think who Savage might end up with as a result. So in the finals, we had Ping, Wox, and Malibu could get a 9 elim win. They also got a 7 elim 5th and a 6 elim 2nd, and then didn't load into game 1. So playing absolutely phenomenally. Then we have Pix, Dam, and Damus who got a 9th, 8th, and a 1st, well contested at Pump Power. We had Eyedrop, Sky, and Scroll get a 1st, 9th, 6th, and 9th, well triple contested at the Shaft. So they're looking extremely strong. And then we had probably a more underrated win that not a lot of people were expecting. We had Frix's team get a 30th, 33rd, 31st, and then a 1st. So hey, they still made 1,200 bucks. It's a victory format. If you're not first, you're last. So you might as well come last or first. They played really, really well in the one game that mattered for them. And then we had Vico, Veno, Flix, the team with obviously the most amount of hype around them. They got an 18 elim 5th in their last game. After seeing them not struggle, just not do as well as we were expecting, I started to think, maybe this updates the Mega Cities nerfed, apparently the black market doesn't sell gold and purple pumps as often, maybe because the mythic pump, they're going to get fought for the train more often. I couldn't really figure out what was going on here. Like I said, I honed in on the fact that Flixie was using that pump and dump a lot, and it kind of seemed to mess up their fighting style. Their fights were taking too long to close out. Vico did mention there's a few times Flixie would have gotten elim, but again, he pressed the wrong button, didn't know how to change his keybind. So I'm not like super panicking for this trio, but seeing Peterbot's team versus Vico's team and how well they performed with Mega City this week, it was very interesting to see. I'm sure Vico is going to fix it up for the Div 1s, but they didn't play particularly well. I will be honest, they played well, just not by their usual standard of well. Now, while they didn't get a win in the finals, I did want to shout out Mongrel, Prism, and Casper making the finals. They came 10th in opens. They played really well. And in the finals, they got a 15th, 7th, 19th, and 33rd. They're dropping on a split to like the north of Pump Power. I really like this team's vibes. If you've been watching Mongrel streams, you know what it's like. They're locked in, they're playing seriously, but they're having fun with it too. I'm really, really excited to see this trio keep growing. Mongrel's now, been locked in for like a few days now, actually practicing, taking it seriously, and they're now popping off. And I think we can finally put the Mongrel, Mr. Savage, will they team together to rest? Because Mongrel has addressed a few times on his stream now. You might have seen the clips, but basically I'll summarize it. He described one of the main reasons why him and Savage stopped playing together was actually because he didn't want to play with Savage anymore because of the community. The fact that Savage's community, or just the Fortnite community in general, when he was playing with Savage, would just pin all of the blame on him. Anytime he made a mistake, it was like magnified 10x. He knew he was the worst player on the trio, but everyone was so sure of that every time something went wrong, it had to be his fault. If he went down early, everyone would blame him and just flame him, and he just got over it. It just wasn't fun, which I fully get. I know these guys have been, big content creators for a long time. Mongrel's been one of the most notable pros in the history of Fortnite. He's used to, getting some negativity, but I think it just made it not really worth playing with Savage anymore. And it's kind of sad to see that Twitter communities are having such a big impact on who plays with who. This is a very similar situation we heard with Clix and Rise. We've heard it many times with many pro players. So it's sad to see, but it looks like Mongrel is enjoying his new trio, a little bit out of the spotlight, doing his own thing with his community and popping off. So I don't really see Savage and Mongrel getting back together after the way Mongrel described it on stream. Now, moving on to the other new trios on EU with the little mini snakening we had. There's never as much drama around the EU teams, so people don't really focus on it as much, but it is very important for competitive. We had Thomas and Panzer now picking up Pablo. They came third in the opens. They ended up being contested by CZB's team at Outlaw in finals, so they didn't do too well in the finals, but they did very well in opens, so I think there's a chance that team sticks. Then we had Chris, Tayson, and Chicho, a brand new trio coming in 73rd overall after Tayson, Chicho, and Trolex didn't do very well in the first finals of the season. Then we had Pink and Nevs finally playing alongside their actual trio Kiro. Now that he's Div 1, they came 69th overall. And then we had Trulex, Skivvy, and Teeny coming 103rd. So we have quite a few big trios chopping and changing their teammates and really not finding a lot of success right now. I don't know what this means for Savage or other trios. I think we are going to see some other shakeups. We now have the Div 1 Open starting today, so we might see some of these teams change, or they'll give it another try. Eval Cup format's a little bit weird. 7 games, 2 hours, with elims only being worth 1. We've seen big teams like Peterbot last season not qualify multiple times, where it's just, it doesn't have to be the be-all, end-all. If vibes aren't good and you aren't playing well, you'll be able to figure it out by playing the tournament, but just because you didn't do well in the tournament doesn't mean your trio doesn't have potential. So we'll see what happens for Div 1. I might have an update video for you guys tomorrow night, or I definitely will do an update video again after the first 2 rounds of opens and see who's with who and how it's going.